Imagine this, a shadow sprinting across the sand, faster than a car on a desert road. And it's not a mammal. It's a bird, a giant, an ostrich kicking up plumes of gold dust as dawn ignites the dunes behind it. And just when you think you've seen the wildest creature out here, something else rises into the heat haze, wings wide, dark, and waiting. The desert has more eyes than you think. Welcome to Western Sahara, where survival is an art form and every bird is an unexpected plot twist. Out here, vultures don't just soar, they dominate. Sparrows don't just sing, they endure. Larks rewrite the definition of desert tough, while flamingos paint impossible ribbons of pink across salt flats that should be silent. Today, you're not just watching birds. You're entering a world where heat bends the air, wind sculpts the land, and every wing beat carries a secret older than any map. But here's the question the desert doesn't answer easily. How do these creatures thrive in a place built to break almost everything else? Hold that thought, because the story begins with a single colossal footstep in the sand, and a bird that refuses to bow to the desert. You know what's funny about the common ostrich? The world's largest bird can't fly, not even a little. But give it a flat stretch of Western Sahara sand, and suddenly this giant becomes a land rocket, sprinting over 40 miles per hour with legs built like spring-loaded steel. And here's the twist. Those legs aren't just for running. One powerful kick from an ostrich can break a lion's ribs. Imagine being fast enough to outrun danger and strong enough to fight it anyway. That's confidence. Ostriches thrive in open desert plains where the heat shimmers off the dunes. They can spot predators from miles away thanks to their enormous eyes. The largest eyes of any land animal, bigger than some mammals' brains. And before you ask, yes, they see you before you see them, way before. Their diet is a desert buffet. Seeds, shrubs, roots, insects, even small reptiles when food is scarce. They swallow pebbles to grind everything down because, well, no teeth, just industrial-grade digestion. And they can survive days without water, pulling moisture straight from plants. Not bad for a bird that looks permanently dehydrated. Breeding season is another story. Males boom out deep chest calls and perform dramatic wing-waving displays, kind of like a giant, feathery dance routine. The dominant male collects a harem of females, but only one is the main partner. She lays her eggs in a communal nest that looks like a shallow crater. And here's the part that always sparks debate. The eggs weigh over 3 pounds each, the largest eggs of any living bird, yet surprisingly small relative to the ostrich's size. So which is it? The world's biggest egg or the world's smallest big bird egg? Pick your side. Predators include hyenas, jackals, lions, and honestly, anything brave enough to approach. But adult ostriches rarely fall victim. Speed, eyesight, and that devastating kick create a survival combo few animals want to challenge. So tell me, is the ostrich a flightless underdog or the desert's heavyweight champion pretending to be modest? Either way, the next bird on our list brings a completely different kind of power, and it prefers the sky. Here's a fun contradiction to start with. The lappet-faced vulture is one of the most intimidating birds in the Western Sahara, yet it doesn't hunt much at all. It waits, patient, silent, almost smug. And when something dies out here, this vulture becomes the desert's cleanup crew, stepping in with a confidence that says, "Don't worry, I've got this." Its head is bare, wrinkled, almost prehistoric. And there's a reason for that. A feathered face would trap bacteria while feeding. So evolution just said, yeah, let's keep things simple. Those fleshy lappets on the side of its head aren't decoration either. They help release heat and signal dominance. In the harsh Sahara, staying cool is survival, not fashion. The lappet-faced vulture is the largest vulture in Africa by wingspan, stretching well over 9 feet. When it lands near a carcass, every smaller vulture suddenly remembers they have somewhere else to be. This species claims the top spot at the table, tearing through thick hide with a hooked beak strong enough to open what other birds can't. And because it goes first, it makes the meal accessible for everyone else. Brutal, sure, but also strangely generous. Its diet is mostly carrion, though it won't turn down small animals, reptiles, or eggs if the opportunity arises. And despite the dramatic reputation, this vulture rarely spreads disease. Its stomach acid is so corrosive it destroys dangerous pathogens on contact. Nature built it like a biohazard disposal unit. Breeding pairs form strong bonds and defend huge territories. Their nests, massive platforms of sticks, are placed on tall acacia trees or cliffs. A single egg is laid, and both parents take turns incubating it. Slow reproduction is one reason this species struggles. Losing even a few adults impacts the whole population. So here's the debate hook. Is the lappet-faced vulture terrifying, or is it the desert's most underappreciated hero? Without it, the Sahara would drown in decay. Either way, the next bird doesn't wait for death. It rules the night with eyes that glow like embers. The pharaoh eagle owl is one of those birds that looks like it knows something you don't. Those huge orange eyes glow against the sandstone cliffs of the Western Sahara like two lanterns. Calm, unblinking, and just a little judgmental. And here's the hook. This owl doesn't just survive in the desert. It thrives in places where most animals would give up before lunchtime. It prefers rocky wadis, cliffs, abandoned quarries, and canyon edges, using natural crevices as nesting sites. No fancy nest building here. It simply picks a safe ledge, scratches out a shallow scrape, and calls it home. Minimalism at its finest. During the day, it blends into the rocks so perfectly that you might walk right past one without noticing, unless it decides to open those eyes and ruin your sense of safety. When night falls, things change fast. The pharaoh eagle owl becomes a precision hunter, sweeping low over the desert in near-silent flight. Its menu is surprisingly diverse. Gerbils, jerds, small birds, beetles, reptiles. Basically anything that moves and fits in its talons. And those talons are no joke. They're built for crushing, holding, and ending the night early for its prey. Its call is deep and rolling, echoing across canyon walls like a slow drumbeat. Locals once believed owls carried messages or omens, and honestly, standing in the dark with that sound bouncing around, you can understand why. It's the kind of voice that makes the desert feel ancient. Breeding season often begins early in the year. The female lays 1 to 3 eggs, and both parents defend the nest aggressively. Even foxes think twice before approaching. Young owlets leave the nest before they can fly, hopping around the rocks while their parents guard them from above. Adorable, sure, but also a little chaotic. So here's a debate for the comments. Is this owl majestic because it thrives in silence, or intimidating because you never know it's there until it wants you to? Either way, the desert has a softer, sand-colored resident waiting in the wings. Much smaller, much friendlier, and surprisingly bold for its size. There's something oddly charming about the desert sparrow. In a wasteland built on heat, sand, and silence, this tiny bird strolls around like it owns the place. Calm, confident, and completely unbothered by conditions that would melt most creatures' enthusiasm. And here's the hook. While many birds flee to cooler climates, the desert sparrow leans in and calls the Sahara home, almost as if it enjoys proving everyone wrong. It lives in some of the harshest environments imaginable. Dunes, dry riverbeds, scattered shrubs, and human settlements at the edge of nothingness. You'll often see it near nomadic camps, hopping around politely, waiting for a crumb or two. It's not begging, it's networking. A mutually beneficial arrangement in classic sparrow fashion. Its plumage is simple but purposeful. Pale sandy browns, soft grays, and clean whites help it blend seamlessly into its surroundings. The male sports a distinctive black mask across the face, giving him a look halfway between a bandit and a tiny desert diplomat. Those colors aren't just aesthetic. They reflect sunlight and limit heat absorption, a clever adaptation for a bird that doesn't get much shade. Diet-wise, the desert sparrow keeps things light: seeds, insects, small plants, and whatever it can scavenge from human activity. During the hottest months, it relies heavily on insects for hydration. And unlike some desert birds, it doesn't need standing water to survive. A few bugs and a bit of plant moisture can take it surprisingly far. Breeding season often centers around human structures or abandoned nests of other species. The male sings a simple but cheerful tune, a soft, repetitive chirping that somehow sounds optimistic even when the temperature hits 3 digits. Pairs raise 2 to 4 chicks at a time, and both parents work tirelessly to feed them. Those chicks grow fast. Speed is a survival strategy in a place where every second counts. Now here's a mini debate. Is the desert sparrow tough because it's adapted to the Sahara? Or did it simply learn to rely on humans better than any other wild bird out here? Either way, the next species adds a burst of color and charisma to the dunes. A bird impossible to miss, even in a world of endless sand. The common hoopoe is one of those birds that makes you stop mid-sentence the first time you see it. In a landscape full of beige dunes and silent heat, this creature arrives with a crest that pops open like a desert sunrise. Bold, bright, and just a little bit dramatic. And the hook here is simple. No bird in the Western Sahara looks remotely like this one. It's a one-species fashion show walking around on stilt legs. That crest isn't just decoration. The hoopoe raises it when alarmed, excited, or showing off, which honestly seems like most of the time. Add the black and white striped wings, and suddenly you've got a bird that looks like it escaped from an ancient painting. Fitting, since people have been fascinated by hoopoes for centuries. They forage mostly on the ground, probing the sand with a long, curved bill. Their diet includes beetles, ants, termites, spiders, small reptiles, and larvae hidden deep below the surface. And here's the fun twist. The hoopoe can open its bill while it's underground, acting like tiny forceps to grab prey other birds miss. Efficient, slightly spooky, but undeniably impressive. Hoopoes survive the Western Sahara by using shade, burrows, and drainage cracks as hiding spots. They're surprisingly resilient, moving with a slow, deliberate gait that gives the impression they're too relaxed to worry about predators, though they remain wary of hawks, owls, and foxes. When threatened, they can produce a foul-smelling secretion from their uropygial gland. Let's just say, it works. Breeding season is a noisy affair. Males call with that distinctive hoopoo sound, a deep resonant note that carries across dry riverbeds. Nests are made in cavities, tree holes, walls, abandoned burrows, basically anything with a roof. The female stays inside with the eggs while the male delivers food and defends the territory. Once the chicks hatch, the whole family becomes loud, messy, and absolutely determined to eat everything in sight. So here's a debate hook for the comments. Is the hoopoe a desert beauty or a weird little magician with a built-in stink bomb? Either way, the next bird trades elegance for pure adaptation. A creature shaped entirely by sand, silence, and endless horizon. The greater hoopoe might not have the flashy crest of the hoopoe, but give it a minute. This bird is built for the desert in ways that feel almost unfair. The hook? It's one of the most desert-adapted songbirds on Earth, capable of running across scorching sand with long, springy legs that look like they were borrowed from a tiny marathon champion. Its plumage is all pale creams, sandy browns, and soft whites, the exact color of the desert that tries to hide it. In the Western Sahara, blending in is survival, and this lark is so well camouflaged that it sometimes vanishes in plain sight. You don't notice it until it decides to move, and then it takes off in fast, zigzagging bursts that look more like sprint drills than flight attempts. The hoopoe lark forages mostly on the ground, feeding on insects, small arthropods, seeds, and the occasional sprout. It's highly opportunistic. When food is scarce, it digs with that long, downward curved bill, probing under stones and sand clumps. During hotter months, insects become its main hydration source. Once again, desert living is all about efficiency. Breeding season brings out the showman. Males perform spectacular aerial songs, flying upward in wide spirals and then descending with fluttering wings while delivering a whistle-like tune. It's a full performance, part serenade, part display of stamina. On the ground, the pair builds a simple nest scrape, usually under a bush or a small stone ledge for shade. Eggs and chicks are vulnerable to foxes, snakes, and predatory birds, so the parents stay alert. The hoopoe lark survives extreme temperature swings by adjusting its activity. Early morning and late afternoon are foraging hours. Midday is for finding shade and quietly avoiding death by heat stroke. Seems reasonable. Its long legs help dissipate heat, and its loose plumage provides insulation from both hot days and cool nights. Now here's your debate hook. Is the greater hoopoe lark impressive because it thrives in the desert? Or is it just stubborn enough to pretend the Sahara isn't trying to kill it daily? Either way, the next bird takes this sand-colored theme even further. Smaller, subtler, and shaped perfectly by dunes and silence. The desert lark is the bird equivalent of a master of minimalism. No bright colors, no dramatic displays, just pure function shaped by millions of years of sand, wind, and heat. And here's the hook. For a species that looks so plain, it survives some of the harshest conditions on the planet with remarkable ease. Sometimes the quiet ones really do have the best tricks. Its plumage is a perfect match for the Western Sahara's palette. Subtle browns, dusty creams, and faded grays. But those colors change depending on the region. Populations living on darker gravel plains are darker. Those on pale dunes are lighter. It's the ultimate desert dress code, shifting tones to blend in with whatever landscape tries to swallow it. Unlike many desert birds that move long distances to find food, the desert lark stays local. Its menu is simple but effective. Seeds, insects, and tiny shoots that somehow find a way to live in this oven. During dry months, insects become a vital hydration source, and the bird's thick, curved bill helps it pry them from underneath stones or roots. It feeds slowly, deliberately, a method that saves energy when temperatures soar. Its song is soft, melodic, and surprisingly beautiful for such a muted bird. Early mornings and late afternoons are when males deliver their cascading trills, sometimes from the ground, sometimes from small rocks. The sound drifts across empty spaces, giving the desert a moment of life before the heat erases all motion. Breeding pairs nest in shallow scrapes beneath shrubs or rock ledges, anything that offers a sliver of shade. Eggs and chicks are camouflaged perfectly, but predator, foxes, snakes, and raptors still pose constant threats. Here's a debate hook for the comments. Is the desert lark overlooked because it's simple, or is its simplicity actually what makes it one of the most impressive desert survivors? Either way, the next bird in this sandy lineup adds a subtle twist. Familiar shape, similar colors, but a behavior that sets it apart from the crowd. The bar-tailed lark is one of those birds you almost miss entirely, until it flicks its tail and suddenly gives itself away. And here's the hook. That tail pattern isn't just for show. In a landscape where everything is beige, the bar-tailed lark uses those dark bands as quick visual signals to other larks drifting across the dunes. Subtle communication in a world of silence. Its plumage, like its cousin the desert lark, is an ode to camouflage. Pale sand tones, muted browns, and just enough shading to blend into gravel plains or dune edges. But the bar-tailed lark tends to prefer flatter, more open spaces, where sparse vegetation gives it long, unobstructed foraging routes. It moves with a light, quick step, pausing, hopping, probing, like it's following an invisible treasure map across the Sahara. Its diet is a practical mix of seeds, insects, and tiny sprouts. The long, slightly decurved bill helps it sift through loose sand for hidden arthropods, and during peak heat, insects become its main source of moisture. Living out here is a hydration puzzle, and this bird solves it daily with quiet efficiency. The song is surprisingly sweet for such a reserved species, a soft, tinkling phrase delivered from the ground, or a small perch, usually in early morning when the desert is still cool enough for music. Breeding pairs nest in shallow scrapes under bushes or rocks, lining them with small pebbles and plant fibers. The eggs are speckled, blending almost perfectly into their surroundings. Nest predation remains a constant threat. Foxes, snakes, and raptors all know the desert too well, so the parents stay alert and discreet. Behaviorally, the bar-tailed lark is slightly more solitary than other larks. It forms loose groups only when conditions are favorable, and even then, each bird maintains a polite distance. Maybe that's just desert etiquette. When shade is scarce, personal space becomes precious. So here's your debate hook. Is the bar-tailed lark a master of subtlety or simply a specialist that found success by keeping a low profile? Either way, the next species takes desert living to a new level. Same sand, same heat, but with a touch more flair in its feathers. The desert wheatear is one of those birds that seems to have mastered the art of looking effortlessly cool. In a place where the landscape tries to erase everything, this little bird stands tall on a rock, tail twitching, acting like it's monitoring the whole Western Sahara. And here's the hook. Despite its small size, the desert wheatear behaves like a top-tier predator of insects, striking with sharp, fast movements that would put many bigger birds to shame. Males are striking, pale sandy bodies, crisp black masks, and strong black tail patterns that flash during flight. Females keep things more understated, but both blend beautifully into dune systems and gravel plains. That camouflage isn't just for avoiding predators. It helps them ambush prey. The wheatear's hunting strategy is simple but effective. It perches, waits, and then darts down to snatch beetles, ants, spiders, and small larvae. Sometimes it even chases insects midair, adding a little flair to the act. Their habitat ranges widely across semi-desert, rocky flats, abandoned fields, and eroded hill slopes. These birds are comfortable anywhere that offers open ground for foraging and scattered stones for perching. They survive the harshest months by shifting activity to cooler hours, spending midday in shade or burrows abandoned by other animals. The song of the desert wheatear is a pleasant, scratchy mix of whistles and chirps. Males sing from elevated perches, occasionally including mimicry of other species. A surprising twist for such a small desert bird. Breeding pairs build nests in crevices, walls, burrows, or under rocks, lining them with feathers and wool. They typically lay 4 to 6 eggs, and both parents feed the chicks with constant dedication. Predators include foxes, snakes, shrikes, and raptors, all of which force the wheatear to stay alert. Here's your debate hook. Is the desert wheatear impressive because of its adaptability, or because it manages to look stylish in a place where everything is dust-colored? Either way, the next bird takes the same desert palette and pushes it into bold contrast, a flash of white and black that refuses to blend in. The white-crowned wheatear is the kind of bird that refuses to be subtle. In a world built from sand and stone, this species shows up wearing a high-contrast outfit. Jet black body, bright white crown, and a tail pattern that flashes like a signal mirror. And here's the hook. In the Western Sahara, looking bold isn't a disadvantage. It's a statement. This bird doesn't hide. It advertises its territory with confidence. Males are the most dramatic, with that unmistakable white cap glowing in the sun. Females and juveniles, on the other hand, skip the crown, but keep the strong black and white tail pattern. Regardless of age or sex, the species is unmistakable once you've seen it. They perch on rocks, posts, ruins, or anything slightly elevated, constantly flicking their wings and tails as if they're trying to make sure you're paying attention. Their habitat spans rocky deserts, cliffs, wadis, and scattered settlements. They don't need vegetation or water sources. They need open ground, sun, and a good vantage point. That independence matches their diet. White-crowned wheatears are opportunistic feeders, taking beetles, ants, spiders, small reptiles, and occasionally even scavenging scraps from human areas. They're survivors first, stylists second. Their song is surprisingly varied, a mix of whistles, harsh chattering, and frequent mimicry of other birds. Yes, mimicry. This little desert performer borrows sounds from neighbors and blends them into its own repertoire. Whether it's a strategy or just showing off, well, that's up for debate. Breeding season is energetic. Males sing from conspicuous perches, chasing rivals with intense aerial displays. Nests are built in crevices, abandoned burrows, stone walls, or even old machinery in desert outposts. The structure is lined with wool, feathers, and plant fibers. The female lays 3 to 6 eggs, and both parents feed the chicks relentlessly. Predators include snakes, shrikes, foxes, and various raptors, the usual hazards of desert childhood. So here's your debate hook. Is the white-crowned wheatear bold because the desert made it tough, or tough because it chose to be bold in the first place? Either way, the next species trades high contrast for warm tones, a soft, sandy yellow specialist shaped by desert wind and silence. The African desert warbler is one of those birds you'd swear was invented just to prove that softness can survive in a place built for extremes. And here's the hook. In a landscape that looks like it was designed to erase life entirely, this tiny yellow-washed warbler flits through shrubs as if the Sahara were a gentle garden. It's not, but don't tell the warbler that. Its plumage is pale, sandy yellow, blending almost perfectly with dry grasses and desert shrubs. The eye ring is bright and expressive, giving it a permanently curious look, as if it's always evaluating whether the world is friend or foe. Habitat-wise, the African desert warbler prefers areas with low vegetation, scattered tamarisk, desert scrub, or even isolated tussocks. Anywhere with just enough shade to hide an insect or two is good enough. Diet is simple: insects, spiders, tiny larvae, and occasionally seeds. Unlike many desert birds that forage openly, this warbler works low in the shrubs, moving with delicate hops and flicks. It often fans its tail while searching for food, a behavior that probably startles prey, and definitely makes it look a little dramatic for such a small creature. Its song is light, rapid, and surprisingly cheerful. A series of whistling trills delivered from exposed perches or while performing gentle flight displays. In early breeding season, males sing frequently, sometimes chasing females with fluttering, buoyant flights that look more like enthusiasm than strategy. Nests are built low in vegetation, carefully hidden and woven from grasses, fibers, and occasionally animal hair. The female lays 3 to 4 eggs, and both parents share feeding duties. Their biggest threats? Snakes, foxes, shrikes, and heat. Relentless, brutal heat. But the warbler manages with clever timing, foraging during cooler hours and shading its nest throughout the day. Now here's a debate hook. Is the African desert warbler impressive because it survives in the Sahara, or because it somehow makes the Sahara look gentle? Either way, the next bird refuses subtlety entirely. Big, bold, pink, and impossible to miss. A desert giant that turns salt flats into shimmering mirrors of color. The greater flamingo is one of those birds that feels almost unreal in a place like the Western Sahara. Endless, pale sand, blistering heat, and then suddenly, a towering pink figure stepping through a salt flat like it wandered out of a dream. And here's the hook. Despite looking fragile and elegant, this flamingo is one of the toughest birds in the desert ecosystem. Flamingos gather around shallow saline lakes, coastal lagoons, and salt pans where few other animals can tolerate the harsh chemistry. Those waters are loaded with brine shrimp, algae, and tiny crustaceans, exactly what flamingos want. That famous pink color, it comes from carotenoid pigments in their food. No shrimp, no color. So every shade of pink you see is basically a health meter. Their feeding technique is still one of the strangest in the bird world. Flamingos bend their long necks, flip their massive bills upside down, and pump water through a comb-like filtering system. It's weird, effective, and oddly hypnotic to watch. They can sift thousands of tiny organisms per minute, turning toxic water into energy. Greater flamingos form large, noisy colonies where their honking calls echo across the flats. During breeding season, thousands may perform synchronized courtship marches. Long lines of flamingos marching back and forth, lifting their heads in unison. It looks coordinated, but honestly, it's mostly enthusiastic chaos. Nests are cone-shaped mounds of mud built just high enough to protect eggs from rising water. Each female lays a single egg, and both parents take turns incubating. Flight is one of their most surprising traits. For such tall, awkward birds, flamingos are powerful long-distance flyers. Their takeoff run looks comedic, but once airborne, they cruise smoothly with neck and legs stretched straight out, unmistakable silhouettes against the desert sky. Predators include large raptors, jackals, and occasionally foxes targeting eggs or chicks. But adult flamingos rely on their height, group vigilance, and deep water habitat to stay safe. So here's your debate hook. Are flamingos symbols of elegance surviving in hardship, or desert pragmatists cleverly exploiting a niche no one else wants? Either way, the next bird trades pink elegance for sharp precision, a coastal hunter with a reputation for being both picky and powerful. Audouin's gull is not your typical beach scavenger. If anything, it acts like it has higher standards. And here's the hook. While most gulls are happy dumpster diving their way through life, Audouin's gull is one of the most specialized and selective gulls in the world. In the Western Sahara, it becomes a sleek coastal hunter built for precision rather than chaos. Its appearance is clean and elegant: pale gray wings, white body, jet black wingtips, and a striking red bill. It looks like it arrived at the shore dressed for a formal dinner. This species prefers quiet, undisturbed coastlines and offshore islands rather than crowded beaches. Along the Saharan coast, it takes advantage of rich upwelling zones where fish gather, sardines and anchovies being the favorites. Unlike many gulls, Audouin's rarely steals food or scavenges trash. Instead, it hunts. It performs crisp, low flights over the water, dropping down to snatch fish with precise timing. It may follow small fishing boats, but not to fight for scraps. More to capitalize on schools of fish stirred up by nets. During breeding season, colonies form on isolated islands or remote coastal areas, usually on bare ground or short vegetation. The nests are simple scrapes lined with small stones and debris. Adults lay 2 to 3 eggs, and both parents share incubation duties. Chicks are camouflaged with mottled down, helping them blend into sand and rock. Predators include large gulls, foxes, and birds of prey. Another reason the species seeks isolation: its voice is softer and less shrill than other gulls, a series of nasal calls and mewing notes. It's almost polite by gull standards, and that fits the personality. Audouin's gull is more reserved, more selective, and far more dependent on healthy fish stocks than most of its relatives. So here's a debate hook. Is Audouin's gull admirable for refusing to live the messy gull lifestyle? Or is it simply picky in a way only a specialized species can afford? Either way, the next bird brings the desert back into frame. Warm colors, compact size, and a charisma that's impossible to ignore. The Sudan golden sparrow looks like someone dipped a tiny desert bird in pure sunlight. And here's the hook. In a landscape made of beige and shadow, this sparrow explodes with color so bright it almost feels out of place. But make no mistake, it belongs here. It thrives here. And it brings its own sparkle to the Western Sahara. Males are the showstoppers, glowing with deep golden yellow plumage that intensifies during breeding season. Females are softer, sandy brown with subtle hints of yellow, better camouflage for nesting duties. These birds gather in nomadic flocks, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, moving across semi-desert plains, oases, and sparse savanna edges in search of food and water. Where the environment is harsh, teamwork becomes survival. Diet is simple: grass seeds, grains, and the occasional insect. Their short conical bills are perfect for cracking seeds quickly, allowing them to feed efficiently during the cooler parts of the day. In the hottest months, insect protein helps with hydration and chick growth. Sudan golden sparrows often follow human settlements or livestock herds, not out of dependence, but because people and animals tend to concentrate resources. Breeding behavior is where things get interesting. These sparrows nest in colonies, often commandeering thorny bushes or acacia trees. Males build the first version of the nest, a woven ball of grass with a side entrance, and then present it to the female for approval. If she disapproves, she tears parts of it apart. If she approves, she replaces the interior lining herself. Efficiency? Maybe. Drama? Absolutely. Their calls are high-pitched chirps and rapid chatter, creating a constant soundtrack around colony sites. When predators approach, snakes, foxes, raptors, the entire flock erupts in alarm, scattering in tight synchronized bursts before settling nearby and resuming normal business like nothing happened. So here's a debate hook. Is the Sudan golden sparrow impressive because of its color, or because it manages to stay cheerful in a place where almost nothing is golden? Either way, the next bird trades gold for armor like feathers and a lifestyle built around speed, stealth, and precision. The crowned sand grouse is one of those birds that feels like it was engineered specifically for desert survival. And here's the hook. While most creatures struggle to stay hydrated in the Western Sahara, this bird has a built-in water delivery system that would impress an ultramarathon runner. More on that in a moment. At first glance, the crowned sand grouse looks like a desert stone with wings. Its plumage is a mosaic of soft browns, sandy creams, and delicate barring that blends into gravel plains and dune edges. The crown on its head, a subtle but elegant marking, gives it a distinctive look, almost like it's wearing a tiny helmet. Practical, stylish, and entirely desert appropriate. These birds prefer open stony deserts, dry wadis, and sparse shrublands. Their flight pattern is fast, direct, and surprisingly powerful. When alarmed, they burst into the air with sharp, whirring wing beats and vanish into the heat haze before you realize they were ever there. They forage mostly at dawn and dusk, picking seeds, shoots, and small insects from the ground. Their bills are short and tough, adapted perfectly for cracking dry desert seeds that most species would ignore. Now about that hydration trick. Adult sand grouse can fly long distances to find water, sometimes over 20 miles, but their chicks can't. So the adults soak their belly feathers in water and carry it back. The feathers act like tiny sponges, holding enough moisture for the entire brood to drink. That's not just clever, that's evolutionary genius. Breeding season begins when rainfall sparks brief plant growth. Nests are simple scrapes lined with a few pebbles. The eggs are beautifully camouflaged, and both parents share incubation duties. Predators like foxes, raptors, and monitors are constant threats, so vigilance is a full-time job. Their calls are soft, resonant coos that echo across quiet desert mornings. A surprisingly gentle voice for such a rugged bird. And when flocks gather near water at dawn, their synchronized flight patterns create some of the most elegant scenes in the Sahara. So here's your debate hook. Is the crowned sand grouse the desert's toughest minimalist or the Sahara's most underrated engineer? Either way, the next bird takes toughness to a whole new level. Thicker bill, bolder attitude, and a personality that doesn't back down. The thick-billed lark isn't subtle about what it brings to the table. One look at that oversized, armor-plated beak and you already know the hook. This bird is built for breaking things. Hard seeds, stubborn beetles, even the occasional snail shell. The Sahara offers tough food, and this lark shows up with the right tools. It lives across rocky deserts, gravel plains, and barren plateaus where vegetation is sparse and shade is basically a rumor. The plumage is understated, dusty browns, pale buff tones, and streaking across the chest. Nothing flashy, but extremely practical for blending into stony terrain. When you live in a place ruled by predators and heat, subtlety becomes a survival skill. The thick-billed lark's feeding behavior is determined and methodical. It uses that powerful bill to crack seeds too hard for other birds and to hammer open insect shells. During the driest months, beetles and larvae become crucial for hydration, and this lark specializes in digging them out. It's like watching a tiny desert blacksmith at work, patient, precise, unfazed. Breeding season in the Sahara is all about timing. After rare rains, when small plants sprout and insects bloom, males begin singing. Their calls are low, rolling whistles, often delivered from the ground or a small rock. Courtship displays include rapid wing fluttering, short chases, and offering bits of food to the female. Classic lark behavior, but with a slightly more serious demeanor. The nest is a simple ground scrape lined with plant fibers and small stones. Eggs are mottled, blending seamlessly into the earth. Predators like foxes, shrikes, and raptors keep the entire family on alert. One of the more surprising traits of this species is its social flexibility. Thick-billed larks can occur in small groups even outside breeding season, especially when food is abundant. But they're not chatty flock birds, more like rugged desert colleagues willing to share a workspace. So here's your debate hook. Is the thick-billed lark impressive because of its brute force bill, or because it figured out how to thrive in a desert using sheer determination? Either way, the next bird swaps rocky plains for coastal edges. Long legs, sleek plumage, and a hunting style built around shallow water and stillness. The western reef heron is one of those birds that seems to have two personalities. And here's the hook. It literally comes in two colors. Some individuals are pure, ghostly white. Others are dark, smoky gray. Same species, different wardrobes. In the Western Sahara's coastal zones, both form stalk shallow waters with the same quiet confidence. This heron lives along lagoons, tidal flats, rocky shorelines, and estuaries. Anywhere the water is calm and the fish haven't learned paranoia yet, its movements are slow and calculated. It lifts each leg with precision, pauses, lowers its head, and then strikes with lightning speed. Small fish, crustaceans, mollusks, insects, all fair game. Sometimes it even stirs the water with its feet to flush prey. Subtle manipulation, big payoff. Its long pointed bill makes it a natural spearfisher, and its S-shaped neck acts like a spring-loaded weapon. The dark morph blends into shadows, perfect for ambush hunting, while the white morph can use bright light to confuse prey. Two strategies, one species. Evolutionary versatility at its finest. When it takes flight, the western reef heron shows off broad wings and slow, powerful strokes. It's not a soaring bird. It prefers low, directional flights just above the water. Its call is a rough, croaking ra-ack, usually delivered when disturbed or during aggressive encounters with rivals. And yes, these herons can be territorial, especially when a good feeding spot is at stake. Breeding occurs in colonies, often mixed with other herons, egrets, or shorebirds. Nests are loose platforms of sticks placed in mangroves, bushes, or rocky ledges. The female lays 2 to 4 eggs, and both parents share incubation duties. Chicks grow fast, but remain vulnerable to gulls, raptors, and even neighboring herons. One of the species' more charming behaviors is its habit of posing, standing tall on a rock with wind ruffling its feathers as if it's waiting for someone to paint it. Call it vanity or simply resting in style. So here's your debate hook. Is the western reef heron more impressive as a hunter or as a shape-shifting coastal phantom? Either way, the next bird leaves the shore behind and heads straight into open skies. Broad wings, sharp eyes, and a desert hunting strategy built around patience and power. The long-legged buzzard earns its name the moment you see it. Those legs look almost too long for a raptor, like someone stretched a hawk in the wash. And here's the hook. In the Western Sahara, those long legs aren't a fashion statement. They're desert tools, letting the buzzard sprint after prey on the ground when flight alone won't cut it. A raptor that chases its food on foot? That's right. Welcome to Sahara problem solving. Its plumage ranges from pale sandy cream to rich rufous tones, with some individuals so light they almost disappear against the dunes. Others show darker flight feathers and streaked chests. This variability lets the species blend seamlessly into rocky slopes, wadis, and vast semi-desert plains. Adaptation isn't optional here. It's survival. The buzzard's diet is classic opportunism. Rodents, hares, lizards, snakes, large insects. If it moves and fits in the talons, it's on the menu. When prey hides, the bird uses those long legs to flush and pursue. When prey runs, the buzzard drops from the sky with slow, powerful wing beats and astonishing control. Carrion is also fair game, especially during lean seasons. Its hunting style is calm and methodical. You'll often see it perched on a rock, scanning the landscape for the slightest twitch of life. Other times it hovers briefly, kestrel style, before diving. That versatility is one reason this species thrives across multiple habitats, from North African deserts to Eurasian steppes. Breeding pairs establish wide territories. Their nests, big messy platforms of sticks, sit on cliffs, power pylons, rock ledges, or low outcrops. The female lays 2 to 4 eggs, and both parents share incubation. Chicks grow fast but face threats from foxes, ravens, and other raptors. Competition is brutal out here. The buzzard's call is a harsh, mewing kia, echoing across empty valleys. It's not elegant, but it carries authority, like a desert landlord reminding everyone who owns the airspace. So here's your debate hook. Is the long-legged buzzard impressive because it's adaptable, or because it refuses to choose between being a hawk of the sky and a hunter on foot. Either way, the next bird brings speed, elegance, and desert camouflage into perfect alignment, a ground runner built for open horizons. The cream-colored courser is one of the Western Sahara's most graceful illusions. You look once, it's gone. Look again. It's a streak gliding across the sand on impossibly long legs. And here's the hook. This bird doesn't fly to escape danger. It runs, hitting speeds that make you wonder if it missed its calling as a tiny desert racehorse. Its plumage is a masterclass in subtle beauty. Warm, sandy beige, soft buff tones, and a clean black and white line running across the face like a minimalist painter's signature. Everything about its coloration whispers camouflage. In stillness, it dissolves into the dunes. In motion, it becomes a tan blur. The courser prefers open gravel plains and hard-packed deserts, avoiding dense vegetation entirely. That wide-open style matches its hunting strategy. It sprints after insects, beetles, small arthropods, and occasionally tiny reptiles. Instead of stalking or ambushing, it simply outruns its prey. A bold approach that works surprisingly often. Those long legs aren't just for show, they're superb shock absorbers, letting the bird glide over uneven terrain without breaking stride. During nesting season, the cream-colored courser keeps things minimal. No elaborate nest, just a shallow scrape in gravel. Eggs, typically 2, are patterned to blend perfectly with surrounding stones. The chick strategy is equally simple. Hatch quickly, run immediately, survive by speed. Predators like foxes, snakes, and raptors find them challenging to catch because the courser's first instinct is sprinting, not hiding. Its voice is a soft, rolling chirrup delivered during brief pauses between runs. Not exactly a desert ballad, but fitting for a bird more interested in movement than music. Flight happens only when absolutely necessary. Even then, it stays low and fast, hugging the desert's contours before settling back down to continue its ground-based lifestyle. So here's your debate hook. Is the cream-colored courser impressive because it's built for speed, or because it proves that sometimes running is actually the smartest strategy? Either way, the next species brings the desert story full circle. Sleek wings, piercing calls, and a coastal power that contrasts beautifully with the Sahara's calm sands. The Caspian tern is not just another seabird, it is the largest tern on Earth, a sharp-winged powerhouse with a voice loud enough to echo across the Western Sahara's coastal lagoons. And here's the hook. This bird is so unmistakable that even if you've never seen one before, the moment it flies overhead with that massive red bill glowing like a flare, you know it means business. Its wings are long and pointed, built for fast, direct flight. The plumage is crisp white and soft gray, contrasted by a black cap that looks like someone painted on a helmet. It's aerodynamic, elegant, and slightly intimidating. Exactly what you'd expect from a tern that rules shorelines from Africa to Asia. The Caspian tern is a specialist hunter. It flies high over shallow water, scanning for fish with sharp eyes. When it spots one, the dive is swift and vertical. Bill first, no hesitation. It grabs mullet, sardines, anchovies, and any unlucky fish swimming too close to the surface. Unlike many terns that swallow prey mid-air, Caspian terns often carry their catch to shore, flipping the fish until it's perfectly aligned for eating. Their call is a deep, barking crack, surprisingly harsh for such a sleek bird. It announces territory, alarms colonies, and occasionally expresses annoyance at absolutely nothing. Vocal personality is part of the package. Breeding colonies form on offshore islands, sandbars, or isolated beaches, always far from disturbance. Nests are shallow scrapes lined with shells and debris. The female typically lays 1 to 3 eggs, and both parents share the workload. Chicks hatch covered in speckled down, already capable of running, but dependent on their parents' fishing skills. Threats include gulls, foxes, and coastal raptors. But colony vigilance usually keeps danger at bay. What's surprising is how far these birds travel. Some Caspian terns migrate thousands of miles between continents, following coastlines with impressive loyalty to their wintering and breeding grounds. So here's your debate hook. Is the Caspian tern remarkable because of its size, its skill, or simply the attitude it carries into every flight? Either way, closing out our list with a bird, this bold feels right, because in the Western Sahara, even the coastline demands a species with presence. When you step back and look at the Western Sahara from above, it seems empty. Just wind, sand, and silence stretching to the horizon. But now you've seen what really moves out there. The giants that run instead of fly, the tiny sparrows that glow like sunlight, the larks shaped by dunes, the hunters of rock, sky, and sea. 20 species, each carving out a life in a place that shouldn't welcome life at all. And that's the quiet miracle of this desert. It doesn't offer comfort, it offers challenge. Yet these birds meet it with speed, strategy, color, camouflage, and sometimes just pure stubbornness. They turn heat into habitat, emptiness into home, and scarcity into opportunity. You don't survive the Sahara by accident, you earn every moment. Maybe that's what makes these species unforgettable. Not just their looks or their songs, but the way they insist on thriving where the world says they shouldn't. A reminder that resilience isn't loud. It's steady, persistent, a wing beat in a vast silence. So as the sun drops behind the dunes and the desert cools, ask yourself one last question. If this is what the empty places hold, what else have we been overlooking?